Nuclear negotiations can reshape entire regions, but here's something wild. The fate of 20% of the world's oil supply and trillions in global trade hinges on talks happening right now in a quiet room in Muscat, Oman.
That's such a striking way to frame it. And what makes it even more fascinating is how these indirect talks through Omani mediators could completely transform the Middle East's power dynamics.
You know, when we look at the possible outcomes, there are really three distinct futures emerging. The first scenario involves this incredibly precise dance of uranium enrichment caps at exactly 3.67%, a number that might sound arbitrary, but carries massive diplomatic weight.
Let's dig into that first scenario. What makes that specific percentage so crucial?
Well, that number comes from the 2015 agreement, and it represents the sweet spot between allowing peaceful nuclear energy development while preventing weapons-grade enrichment. It's like threading a diplomatic needle that satisfies both technical and political requirements.
The verification process must be incredibly complex with today's technology.
Oh, you have no idea. We're talking about satellite surveillance, AI-powered monitoring systems, and environmental sensors that can detect nuclear particles in the air from miles away. The whole verification game has completely evolved from the old days of just having inspectors walk through facilities.
That's fascinating. How do they manage to keep track of all that data?
Here's where it gets really interesting. The IAEA has developed these sophisticated systems that can process terabytes of data in real time. But you know what keeps me up at night? That second scenario, the stalemate and escalation path.
The economic implications of that would be devastating.
Exactly. And here's a number that'll knock your socks off. If conflict breaks out in the Strait of Hormuz, we're looking at potential oil price spikes that could hit $200 per barrel. That would send shockwaves through the global economy, affecting everything from your morning commute to the price of groceries.
Well, that's terrifying. But what about the third scenario? The comprehensive agreement. That seems like it could be transformative.
Oh man, that's where things get really interesting. Iran has the world's second largest natural gas reserves and one of the highest rates of engineering graduates per capita. Opening up could unleash this massive wave of innovation and economic growth.
How would that affect regional dynamics?
Think about this. We could see new tech hubs emerging that rival Silicon Valley, but with a distinctly Middle Eastern character. Iran's young population, with over 60% under 30 years old, could drive this incredible transformation in everything from renewable energy to artificial intelligence.
The cultural implications would be enormous too, wouldn't they?
Absolutely massive. And here's something that doesn't get enough attention. There's this huge generational divide in how people view these changes. Young Iranians are incredibly tech-savvy and globally connected, despite the sanctions. We're talking about millions of people ready to engage with the world in new ways.
So what do you think is most likely to actually happen?
Looking at historical patterns, we're likely to see a hybrid approach, starting with technical agreements on nuclear issues, then gradually expanding. But here's the kicker. A single incident in the Persian Gulf could derail everything. The whole situation is balanced on a knife's edge.
These talks in Muscat really could be historic, couldn't they?
You know what's wild? We might be watching the early stages of the biggest transformation in Middle Eastern geopolitics since the fall of the Ottoman Empire. The decisions made in these negotiations could influence everything from energy markets to technological development for decades to come.
Let's hope it leads to more stability and prosperity for everyone involved.
And that's really the key point. Whatever happens in these talks will affect not just the Middle East, but the entire global community. It's like watching the first moves in a chess game that will play out over generations.